Good morning, colleagues. Is that working? Good morning. We've waited a little bit longer to start this morning's session to allow colleagues to join us from the side event, which was happening over in Building H. But we'll get started now so that we can keep to good time this morning. It's very good to see so many of you again this morning. I hope you had a good evening last night in Geneva. I am Susan Aiken. I'm the Vice Chair of this year's Forum of Mayors Bureau, and I'm the leader of the City of Glasgow in Scotland in the United Kingdom. We're moving now on to the fourth segment of the forum, entitled Youth and Future Generations. That is obviously something that we all have in common in our cities. We all have young people. Some of us would like more of them. Some of us would still like to be young people, but all of us were at one point, so at least we all have that in common. Young people have great potential for driving positive global change, but too often they are hindered by poverty, by lack of education, by poor health, or by unemployment. To empower them as leaders, access to education, gender equality, health services, and economic opportunities all must be improved. Removing these barriers and investing in infrastructure and partnerships is essential for enabling the participation of young people in decision making. Before we begin our discussion this morning, I'm very pleased to invite Ms. Mia Alabegovic, who's the Secretary to the Forum of Mayors, an Associate Expert in Economic Affairs, Housing and Land Management Unit, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, to present the fourth chapter of the Pact for the Future of Youth and Future Generations. So welcome to Ms. Alabegovic.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ms. Aiken, and a warm welcome to all our esteemed mayors and deputy mayors and colleagues and partners. It is an honor to stand before you as the Secretary to the Forum of Mayors on this important second day of our meeting. Today, I'm tasked with presenting a crucial chapter from the Pact for the Future, specifically Chapter 4, which focuses on youth and future generations. As stated in the Pact, today's generations of children and young people is the largest in history, with the majority living in developing countries. These young individuals are not just the leaders of tomorrow, they are critical agents of positive change in our communities today. Their contributions to peace and security, sustainable development, and human rights are invaluable. However, it is essential to acknowledge the stark reality that millions are deprived of the conditions necessary to reach their full potential and fulfill their human rights. To secure a better future for all, it is crucial to invest in the engagement of young people at all levels. This is not merely a moral obligation, it is an imperative for achieving a sustainable and equitable future. Thank you. In the Pact, Member States recognize that children and youth are distinct groups from future generations. They affirm that decision-making and policy-making today takes greater account of the needs and interests of the generations to come, and that they are balanced with the needs and interests of current generations. They annexed a declaration on future generations to the Pact that details their commitments in this regard. The declaration emphasizes the need for intergenerational solidarity and dialogue, recognizing the crucial role of present generations safeguarding the rights and interests of the future generation through sustainable practices, inclusive policies, and effective governance. The declaration outlines guiding principles and commitments aimed at promoting peace, equality, environmental sustainability, and empowerment of marginalized groups, ensuring a prosperous future for all. Let me now outline the actions that are proposed in Chapter 4 on youth and future generations. Action 34, where member states decide to scale up investments from all sources into essential services, including health, education, and social protection for young people, ensuring their needs are integrating into national, regional, and international strategies, supporting young people to pursue entrepreneurship and innovation, implementing family-oriented policies to support children and youth. Then there is Action 35, where member states decide to commit to protecting the human rights of all young people, fostering social inclusion, addressing barriers that hinder their potential, addressing challenges faced by young women and girls, enhancing inclusion for young people with disabilities, addressing the impact of climate change, and strengthening intergenerational partnerships. Then there is Action 36, where member state decides to strengthen meaningful youth participation at the national level by, for example, establishing consultation mechanisms, fostering intergenerational dialogues, addressing barriers to participation, and supporting youth-led organizations. Then the last action, that's Action 37, where member states decide to strengthen meaningful youth participation by including young people in UN intergovernmental bodies, encouraging their inclusion in national delegations to the United Nations, calling for contributions to the Youth Fund to support youth representatives from developing countries in participating in the United Nations activities, and requesting the Secretary General to continue to develop core principles in consultation with member states and young people for meaningful, representative, inclusive, and safe youth engagement in relevant intergovernmental processes. Moving on, yes, to the next slide. As you may have noticed from the presentations by the other representatives of the other regional commissions on the different chapters of the Pact for the Future, we have specifically emphasized actions that reference local, regional, subnational, and cities. In this chapter, the term regional, in terms of UN regions, appears in two key actions, while there is no reference to local. So there is Action 34 that you can see on the screen, point A, where member states decide to scale up investment from all sources into essential services and also address their specific needs are integrated into national, regional, and international development strategies. And then to the next slide, we have Action 35, point B, where member states decide to intensify international, regional, and national efforts to take immediate and effective measures to eradicate forced labor. So these references highlight the importance of regional collaboration in addressing key global challenges. However, also the importance of the local dimension is to be emphasized. Cities and local governments are where the impact of policies is most directly felt and where the most immediate results can be observed. The role of local authorities, including mayors and city leaders, is pivotal in translating the actions proposed in this chapter into concrete, measurable outcomes. Local governments are uniquely positioned to engage young people directly in decision-making processes, provide them with opportunities to lead in their communities, and tailor solutions to specific challenges they face. Whether through youth councils, urban innovation hubs, or targeted social programs, cities are where youth empowerment and meaningful participation can be fostered in ways that resonate on the ground. As discussions continue, it is essential to reflect on how cities and local administrations can best implement the proposed actions. The goal is to create environments where young people thrive, not just as beneficiaries of development, but as active shapers of the future. In closing, it is important to recognize that the challenges facing youth today require urgent action. The path forward is clear. By investing in their potential, protecting their rights, and ensuring their voices are heard, a sustainable future can be created that benefits everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alabigovic, for that excellent presentation and some very strong messages coming through there, colleagues, about the frameworks that can be created that will help us all collectively deliver for young people and children, and to put them not only as Ms. Alabigovic put it so well, not only as beneficiaries, but actual active drivers and participants of their own lives and of the things that they need to happen within their own lives. And also very strong messages coming through there about, although it will be states who make the investments, often in the services for children and young people, it will be cities and local governments who will actually be the levels of government that will be relied on to deliver those essential services with and for young people. So with that, colleagues, without any more delay, let's proceed with our discussion on this very significant topic on youth and future generations. So you're invited to consider the following questions in your contributions. What's the status of youth in your city, considering factors such as education, economic conditions and health? What are the primary challenges facing youth in your city? What projects and initiatives have been implemented or are being implemented to empower youth in your city, and what impacts have they had? What future direction should be pursued to engage and empower youth and protect the future generations? Examples might include improving the education system, investing in critical social services, incorporating youth perspectives and development strategies, or creating job opportunities for young people. So as a reminder, just in case you've forgotten since yesterday, you're invited to request the floor by raising your city's nameplate, and I'll then invite you to speak. The order in which the floor will be given is firstly to the cities with a yellow nameplate, representing the official speakers, then other cities will be given the floor, and lastly, countries, academia, NGOs and other international organisations. Before your intervention, please introduce your title and the city that you represent, and please bear in mind that each intervention should be around 3 minutes and should be directly related to the topics discussed. So we have some indications already, I'm very glad to see. And first of all, we have the Deputy Mayor of Mafra in Portugal. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, your floor is yours, either from your desk or from the podium, whichever you feel most comfortable with.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to share the experience of the municipality of Mafra, located about 40 kilometers from the capital of Portugal. More than 90,000 inhabitants live in Mafra, being the second municipality in the country that records the largest increase in population in the period 2011-2021. For this successful increase, the basic infrastructures like schools, sports and cultural facilities were decisive. 27% of the resident population is between 10 and 34 years of age, a number significantly higher than the national average. As a territory with a predominantly young population, contrary to the national and European trends, Mafra faces several challenges. The first challenge is to ensure the creation of local infrastructure for young people, creating conditions for their integral development. In this area, as an example, I highlight the municipal investment in modernizing the school park, 15 million euros. The second challenge is to involve and encourage the civic participation of young people so that they contribute to the sustainable development of the municipality. In this area, as an example, I highlight the innovative project of the Youth Municipal Assembly, a forum for young people to make proposals and to be heard. The third and demanding challenge is the retention of young talent. Nowadays, young Portuguese people are attracted to other European and American countries where salaries are higher. Even though the municipality of Mafra has developed initiatives such as reducing fees for purchasing housing, Portugal as a whole, Europe as a whole, needs to develop a policy to keep our youth in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And I think that touches on a subject that will be very familiar to many of us, the need to actually provide the opportunities that will retain our young people and their skills and their talents in our cities, and not necessarily lose the investment that we've made in them to elsewhere. Thank you. Next we have Ostrava and the Deputy Mayor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andrea Hofmanova and responsible for the field of education and innovations in our city. Our one strategic goal of the city is to decrease the brain drain, to decrease the number of young people leaving Ostrava city and the region for better education, better jobs and better living conditions. That's why we implement a few things in our strategy to help to change this trend, which is about to happen, and we are glad that the number of people leaving the region is already decreasing. The big investment in our city is the investment into education, and in all levels we try to take care of all the youth and all the kids, leaving no one behind, focusing on the kids with the special needs as well as the kids with talent. Ostrava is the only city in the Czech Republic that really focuses high on talented kids, on the work with talented kids, supporting the schools as well as after-school activities and the families of talented kids to work with the children appropriate and to support the talent in these kids. We also cooperate with the two universities in the cities, providing a lot of money and support the infrastructure. One of the example is a new city campus in the city center of Ostrava and new fields of studies connected with the growing university in our city. We also involve young people into decision making. We have Ostrava Youth Parliament as well as school parliaments in our schools, more than 30 parliaments that are involved in the boards, in the working groups of the city and have real touch on the decision making in our city. We also support the participatory projects, so youth are really involved in investing some amount of Ostrava's money into the real projects. The last but not the least thing is also supporting the sports and cultural activities and infrastructure, one of the examples is, for example, building a new concert hall by American architect Stephen Hall, which is one of the top 10 most expected and expecting world buildings. So wish us luck and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Deputy Mayor. Those are very inspiring examples of the inclusion of young people at the very heart of democratic decision-making from the earliest years. And yes, we'll all be very excited to see your new concert hall and perhaps to visit it. Next we have Ms. Deputy Mayor of Turku.
Dear Chair, dear colleagues, good morning again. In Turku, the well-being of youth has been both progress and ongoing challenges. In the beginning of this term, we stated in our mayor's program that the well-being of youth is going to be one of the key initiatives in our city. Youth unemployment and decrease in physical activity has been our focuses for a longer period of time, and also mental health issues and social exclusion and loneliness has had increased instead of decreasing. So we decided to launch several key initiatives to conquer these challenges, and as I referred yesterday, we decided to gather up all the resources we have to make the work more effective. The Children and Youth Wellbeing Plan focuses on preventing exclusion and expanding mental health services, integrating them into schools and community centers, particularly benefiting marginalized youth. The community-driven Turku project tackles loneliness by organizing neighborhood-based activities, fostering social bonds and a sense of belonging. We have decided to use our schools as the key factor in gathering the services around young people. We are building a lot of new schools at the moment, and we try to make them multifunctional centers where we have sports, crafts, and other hobbies, youth services, social services, libraries, etc., etc. Of course, the Finnish model for hobbies also supports both our youth and our goals by providing extracurricular activities, ensuring equal access to mental well-being and social inclusion. In education and employment, the competence flagship initiative bridges the gap between education and the job market by partnering with schools and universities to offer programs in digital skills, innovation, and entrepreneurship. We have had a long tradition of tight triple helix between the city, the universities, and businesses, and now we have also added up the employment sector to speak at the same table. This way we can find stronger education to employment pathways for the young people. We also believe that youth participation in the city decision-making and the city planning and having that way a clearer insight in their role in the society improves their well-being. So we have a children's parliament, a youth council, and in all of our boards, in all political levels, we have a representative from the youth council. The Youth Council also has the right to make initiatives in our City Council. By involving youth in decision-making processes, we aim to create more inclusive and sustainable future for all. But what we have still a real challenge for the future is the learning of Finnish, and that way learning to read and write. There has been a new study that came out yesterday that showed that we really have a problem there, where we have schools because of segregation, the neighborhoods that don't have too many Finnish speaking around, that children really can't learn how to speak Finnish, and that is a problem when we want everyone to be able to study as far as they want to and be able to be employed in Finland. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deputy Mayor. Apologies that while you were speaking, and still someone seems to be practicing the Alpine horn somewhere in the building, but we'll just try and ignore that. It's either that or an Australian didgeridoo, but we'll try and ignore that. We could still hear you very well, even though it's a little bit of a distraction. And I was very interested in particular when you were talking about tackling loneliness, which is a topic that we often associate with older people, but it's and senior citizens. But you quite rightly point out it is something that affects young people as well, and we shouldn't forget that. Thank you. That takes us next to Mr. Deputy Mayor from Utrecht. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Vice Chair. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen. I hope you're not distracted at the moment. So let's start. In the city of Utrecht, if we talk about the city of Utrecht, Utrecht is a young city. It's a vibrant city with a lot of young people. It's a student city also. And in general, the people in the city, the young people are healthy and happy. But of course, like in every big city, there are also big differences if it comes to poverty, housing and education. And of course, there are also several challenges. And I noticed some yesterday also. If it comes to, for example, citizenship, but also youth participation. And we have different programs like the Peaceable School, the Peaceable Neighborhood. But today I want to share another initiative with you all. And that's the Shaping Our Future Declaration. In Utrecht, we hosted the Shaping the Future conference in June. And the conference was part of our mayor's role in the advisory group for local and regional governments of the UN Secretary General. And the outcomes were presented last week in New York, and with this declaration. And well, I will not go into details, but I want to share some thoughts with you all, and what the young people told us, because it were young people from all over the world. And the main thing was how to restore trust between government and young people. And another thing was how to take their voices seriously. So not act as well, what I say, poster boy or a poster girl, but really taking their voices seriously. And if it comes to future directions, I want to invite you all to read also this declaration and to hear, of course, their own voices and what is important for them. So this is the declaration. If you want one, please go to me. I'm over there. And I don't know if it is protocol, but I want to give someone the first one to you as a vice chair, so you can read it also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I look forward to reading that. It sounds genuinely insightful. Thank you. We'll get those distributed to everyone. It's obviously learning for all of us in there. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Mayor from Gyumri. I hope I pronounced that close. The floor is yours.
Уважаемые коллеги 4-го форума саммита городов будущего, рад приветствовать вас сегодня на этой важной встрече. Я очень ценю возможность обратиться к вам. Гюмри, как академический город, гордится 90-летней историей Ширакского государственного университета, который стал центральным образовательным центром региона. Многочисленные филиалы престижных учебных заведений, включая Гюмрийский филиал Ереванского государственного политехнического университета, Гюмрийский филиал Армянского государственного экономического университета, Гюмрийский филиал Ереванского государственного института театра и кино, Гюмрийский филиал Ереванской государственной консерватории, Гюмрийский филиал Государственной академии искусств внесли значительный вклад в создание яркой образовательной и молодежной среды. Несмотря на такие проблемы, как низкая заработная плата и сложные социально-экономические условия, современные центры, такие как технологический центр и творческий центр ТУМО, помогают молодежи приобретать навыки в области связи с общественностью, СМИ, маркетинга, СММ и программирования, что делает их конкурентоспособными на рынке труда. Однако нехватка рабочих мест остается основной проблемой. Многие молодые специалисты приезжают в Ереван в поисках лучших возможностей, так как промышленный сектор в Гюмри замедлился, что ограничивает как трудовые, как и развлекательные возможности. Улучшение местных условий труда может помочь сохранить таланты и оживить город. Гюмри также уникален наличием Дворца молодежи некоммерческой организации, которые возглавляют различные инициативы в области молодежи, политики и культурных мероприятий. Благодаря усилиям отдела культуры, молодежи и политики мэрии города Гюмри в городе поддерживается здоровая молодежная среда через образовательные программы, мастер-классы и неформальные образовательные мероприятия. С улучшением условий труда молодежь остается в Гюмри, способствует росту города. Ключевым проектом, который находится на стадии реализации, является план открытия филиала университета Лозанни в Гюмри. Эта инициатива станет значительной образовательной инвестицией, способствует международному обмену и удерживанию талантов во всего мира в Гюмри. Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And really important points there about the central role of culture, both as a force for inclusion, but also as an economic driver and a job creator. Very interesting. Thank you. Next to the floor, we have Mr. Mayor from Ifangni.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Et tout d'abord, je voudrais vous dire que la commune d'Ifangni est une commune frontalière avec le Nigeria. Et à l'instar des autres communes du Bénin, nous sommes confrontés à la problématique du chômage des jeunes et des femmes et à l'adéquation de la formation académique et technique avec les besoins du marché de l'emploi. Les crises sociétales auxquelles sont confrontées les nations de par le monde n'épargnent pas les communautés à la base. C'est le cas de la chute du Naira. Naira, c'est la monnaie nigériane, qui s'accompagne du retour de la jeunesse du plateau et celle de la commune d'Ifangni en particulier, autrefois active au Nigeria. Face à ces constats, nous, maires d'Ifangni et de la communauté des communes du plateau, entendons conjuguer nos efforts pour promouvoir l'employabilité des jeunes et des femmes. C'est le cas de l'extension de l'école de la seconde chance dans les arrondissements des communes du département du Plateau. Le développement de la pisciculture, du maraîchage et d'autres spéculations de contre-saison pour les maintenir en activité tout au long de l'année, comparativement à tout ce qui se faisait avant, afin de contribuer à l'autosuffisance alimentaire. Je rappelle que notre commune est traversée par plusieurs rivières. Avec le partenariat entre la communauté des communes du Plateau et la Chambre de commerce et de l'industrie du Bénin, la Chambre des métiers, de l'artisanat et la Chambre de l'agriculture dans le département du Plateau, nous entendons développer l'entrepreneuriat des jeunes et des femmes. Avec le lycée technique agricole, le lycée technique professionnel et l'université d'agriculture qui sont installés dans notre département, nous envisageons la création des centres d'éducation, de formation et d'apprentissage. Des formations alternatives seront organisées au profit des jeunes et des femmes vulnérables et pour le perfectionnement des artisans avec focus sur le changement climatique. Afin de responsabiliser cette génération future, il sera instauré dans les écoles maternelles et primaires des ambassadeurs écologiques pour la défense de l'environnement. L'éducation étant le socle d'une nation idéale, les actions des communes aujourd'hui sont axées sur la proximité des centres éducatifs suivant les normes internationales. Depuis Covid-19, la priorité a été accordée à la couverture en eau potable de tous les établissements publics et privés. Il est important donc de poursuivre cette action et d'installer des lieux d'aisance modernes dans un cadre de vie sain dans ces lieux de savoir. Depuis le 2 février 2022, à l'instar des autres communes du département, la commune d'Ifangni est désormais connectée au volet assurance maladie du projet Assurance pour le renforcement du capital humain H développé par le gouvernement de notre pays pour les couches vulnérables, mais beaucoup d'efforts restent à faire pour la construction du centre de santé secondaire pour les premiers soins avec un accès à l'énergie renouvelable. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was a very important contribution, a reminder that if we don't get some of the most basic services right, like high quality drinking water, to ensure that our children and young people are able to live healthy lives, then they won't be able to succeed in their lives in other areas. So a very important contribution, and also very glad to hear from African cities, because Africa is the world's youngest continent in many respects. The future generations that we're talking about is an African future. So with that, I'm also delighted that our next speaker is Ms. Mayor Chitangala from Lusaka. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you so much. My name is Chilando Chitangala, the Mayor of the city of Lusaka in Zambia, with a population of 3.5 million people, and 70% of my population live in peri-urban area, and out of the 3.5 million people, 26% of those are youths. And then Zambia has a population of 20 million, and 52% of the country population is also youthful. So that means more than 52% of the population is very youthful, and we need them for the future. Education-wise, the government introduced free education. We've had free education, but the new government, which came into power 3 years ago, introduced free education for all. So this has helped a lot of children in the city and in the country go back to school. But at the same time, we also have challenges of children or youths that have not gone back to school or fell out of school then. So what the government has done is they've introduced what they call, what we're calling CDF, Community Development Fund. And this Community Development Fund has got a component of skills development. So we are encouraging the youth group from the age of about 14 to 35 to go and do skills training. And this has helped us a lot because a lot of youth have gone back to be trained in carpentry skills and, barbing, becoming tailors, and also doing any other things like carpentry and bricklaying. So this has helped a component of a youth group that has gone back to do skills training. And for that, we also have another challenge in the city where health is concerned. We have a problem with alcohol and drug abuse. This age group, there's an age group that is abusing alcohol and drug. So that has brought a big health challenge in the city. And during the time that we have COVID and now, we have seen an increase of HIV and AIDS cases in the youth group between the ages of about 15 to 24. So that is very worrying. And then apart from that, as a local authority, what we're doing also is making sure that we do a lot of sensitization in the communities. And apart from that, we have what we call a youth group, junior council. And this junior council, what we do is we advertise in public schools. They go into essay writing, and the winners become join the youth group, and they become mayor, deputy mayor, and all the councillors. We have 38 wards, so 38 junior councillors. So it means that they help us in sensitizing the communities, also in issues of fighting climate change. They take part in all that, and also just sensitizing the communities in all other things that the councils do, especially in decision making, where we have to use a bottom-up approach. Apart from having a junior council, the council also has a Youth Climate Action Fund that was that we won from the Bloomberg Philanthropies, and the Youth Action Fund has empowered youths in the city that are working or doing anything to do with fighting climate change. So that has helped. We have encouraged them and empowered them. Apart from the biggest, one of the biggest challenges of alcohol and drug abuse that I've mentioned, what we've done also is, as a council, we've realized that some of these children that are taking part in these bad vices is a problem of where they are coming from. Probably because a certain percentage of our people, our population, are in informal sector. So mothers and fathers go to the markets the whole day or go and do their jobs the whole day. So they leave children behind. So the council has introduced early childhood development in our communities. That has been supported by one of our funders, a British charity organization. So this early childhood development is starting now. This is when we're in the process, but it will help us also make sure that the youth group grow up, and parents also will come to this community halls that will introduce early childhood development for good parenting. This is what we're doing in the city, and apart from that, we have also partnered with government in just making sure that the CDF also has a component for loans and grants for youth that are being encouraged to become entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Chalando. That was some great examples there of interventions at different stages of childhood and youth to ensure that young people are able to thrive. We're moving on to another region now, I'm delighted to say, and to welcome the Mayor of San Jose. The floor is yours.
Gracias, buenos días. Quiero tomarme un poco de mi tiempo porque realmente veo pocos alcaldes jóvenes en esta sala y me parece que como alcalde joven hay mucho que decir sobre la política que los jóvenes podemos desarrollar. Quiero contarles un poco de mi historia. Particularmente, bueno, cuando yo fui electo hace algunos meses, hicimos una campaña contra un partido político y sobre todo contra un alcalde que tenía 33 años de estar en el poder. Yo tengo 34 años de vida y bueno, ha sido una experiencia importante porque son esas paradojas de la vida que nos presentan, digamos, cuando hacemos realmente política los jóvenes. Y bueno, como persona joven, creo que el principal reto que tenemos a la hora de desarrollar política es la inclusión. ¿Por qué les cuento y por qué les contaba sobre mi historia? Porque uno de los principales retos que tenemos en San José, y personalmente que yo tengo en San José, es legitimar la participación de los jóvenes en el desarrollo de la política pública. Si mi administración fracasa, fracasará una generación de jóvenes que ha tenido una oportunidad única para desarrollar política pública en nuestro país. Y bueno, es parte de la labor y de los compromisos que creo que tenemos que asumir como regiones y como ciudades del mundo, involucrar a los jóvenes en las decisiones y en la participación ciudadana. También quiero decir otra cosa muy importante. A veces se habla de la categoría de juventud como una categoría única. Y bueno, en el caso de San José nosotros tenemos, yo podría hablar de varias juventudes porque son poblaciones muy diversas. Tenemos retos, por ejemplo, en vivienda, en acceso a la educación, en capacidad de retener a esas personas en el sistema educativo. pero depende mucho de la clase social y de dónde se concentran los problemas de la juventud, dependiendo del territorio en el que se encuentren. A pesar de que San José es un territorio muy pequeño, nosotros tenemos grandes disparidades, hay una gran desigualdad incluso en términos de acceso de la juventud al sistema educativo. Y una cosa importante que hemos venido haciendo es incluir, desde que yo soy alcalde, es incluir a toda la población joven en la participación de la política local. En octubre, ahora, este mes que estamos entrando, tenemos la primera asamblea de la persona joven, que ya es una política en general nacional, pero que nosotros estamos tratando de desarrollar también a nivel local, que lo que va a permitir es hacer una asamblea de jóvenes que participen en las decisiones políticas de San José. Y bueno, nosotros tenemos grandes retos. Ayer, por ejemplo, les contaba que hemos estado, el próximo año vamos a hacer una idea que yo traigo desde hace tiempo, que son los centros de desarrollo humano, que nos va a permitir que un problema que hemos estado viviendo en San José, que es el perder, digamos, la capacidad de integrar a las generaciones, el tejido social que generan. Nosotros vamos a crear unos centros de desarrollo humano que permitan que haya una convergencia entre la niñez, la juventud y las personas adultas mayores, que son generaciones que el día de hoy, por lo menos en San José, cuesta que se hablen entre sí. Entonces son algunos de los retos que me parecen importantes, y sobre todo el principal reto es que los jóvenes sigamos pudiendo incidir en la política pública de nuestros países. Gracias.
That was a fantastic story, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for sharing it with us, and congratulations on your election. It was very inspiring. That moves us now to Mr. Mayor from Arezzo. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for everybody for this opportunity to let me explain some of the things that my city did for the young people generation, the young people life. City of Arezzo is known also as City of Music. In effect, in the year 1000, the monk Guido wrote for the first time the musical notation on the pentagram. And so he made the first universal language. If you give a musical score to any one of us, we'll play the same music. So based on that, we decided to give to the kids the opportunity to find a work, to find something that is interesting for them in music. So there was born the Arezzo Youth Music Festival. Was performed by this young violinist. At the time, in 2019, he was 23 years old, and he gathered other young international musicians, and they made classical music for young people. But the link with the job that the kids can find in music is because before each concert, they go into the school and they explain them how to listen to a piece of music, what a piece of music means for them. So they tried and they were able to involve them into music business. And that's the first opportunity I would like to talk to you, because we are at the 5th edition and we have a lot of success with these people working from youngsters to youngsters. Worth of notice is also the initiative realized by the organization Rondine, Cittadella della Pace, in the field of youth and future generation, with the aim of reducing armed conflicts around the world and spreading its own method for the creative transformation of conflict in every context. Its objective is contributing to a planet free from armed clashes, in which every person has the tools to manage conflicts in a creative and positive way. Rondine was born in a medieval Tuscan hamlet, a few kilometers away from Arezzo. Here, the main Rondine project for education and professional experience are developed. It is a place where human beings are regenerated so that they can become leaders of themselves and their own communities in the search of the common good. The project that gave rise and inspiration to Rondine is the Studentato Internazionale, World House. It hosts young people who come from countries that are in the scene of armed conflict or post-conflict and helps them to discover the human being in their enemy, though the difficult and surprising effort that comes from living together daily. Rondine is mainly supported by private citizens from civil societies sharing its values and mission, the improvement of the planet through the training of leaders and the application of the Rondine method in every context of conflict. The Rondine method was presented last December in an official event at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Next, we have the Deputy Mayor of New Orleans. Mr. Deputy Mayor, the floor is yours.
My name is Arthur Walton. I'm a deputy mayor of New Orleans, charged with directing the Department of Intergovernmental Relations. I'd like to talk to you this morning about the mayor implementing a program called Family Connects. She believes that our youth are healthy when their family and their homes and their relationships in the home are healthy. Through the Family Connects program, postpartum, the mother and child receive a home visit by a registered healthcare professional for 12 weeks. They receive 1 to 3 visits per 12 weeks. 1 to 3 visits during that 12 weeks. This city service is provided free for mother and child. They are to ensure the continued health and growth of the mother and child relationship, and they address the maternal health care, infant health care, and home health. They also support the mother in developing child care plans and do management of the parent and child relationship. In addition, it's important that we provide our youth with healthy homes, so they provide home safety and material support to that mother and child. If needed, they also provide parental support, ensuring that the parent's well-being is up to par, and addressing any substance abuse problems they may have had in the past. They also provide parents with emotional support. The mayor believes that to ensure the continued health and growth of our community, we need to look out for our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. We have a lot of colleagues wanting to contribute to this topic this morning. Not surprisingly, I think it is a very, very popular one. I promise we will try and get through all of you. So next, I will go to Deputy Mayor of Balzan. Where are we? Floor is yours.
Madam Chair and colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to address this forum. I'm Edward Gregg, Deputy Mayor of Balzan, a small city of less than 5,000 residents located in the middle of the Maltese Islands, situated in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. During the last local elections in Malta, earlier this year, youth participation saw notable improvements with over 100 young people elected, more than 20% of the elected councillors. This increase highlights the growing presence of young individuals in the Maltese politics, particularly after lowering the voting age to 16. The government continues to promote youth involvement by advocating for young people to take on leadership roles such as mayors and deputy mayors. youths play a crucial role in shaping the future of politics, and this is no different in Balzan and across Malta. As the next generation of leaders, our active participation in political processes is essential to ensure that the policies being developed today reflect the needs of tomorrow. In Malta, young people are increasingly stepping up to address issues like climate change, education reform, mental health, and digital transformation, topics that deeply impact our future. In Balzan, as well as other small cities in Malta and Gozo, youth engagement in local councils and civil society is vital. By getting involved at grassroots level, young individuals can influence decisions that directly affect our neighborhoods. We bring fresh perspective, innovative ideas, and a unique understanding of modern challenges. However, we often face various barriers too. It is most important to create more opportunities for youths to engage in political discussions and decision-making processes. Youth councils, political parties, voluntary organizations, and NGOs should actively work to involve young people in dialogues that shape both local and national policy. By empowering youths in Balzan and across Malta and Gozo, we ensure that our energy and ideas contribute to a more inclusive, dynamic, and forward-thinking political landscape. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next, Ms. Deputy Mayor of Dakar, the floor is yours.
Merci Madame la Vice-Chaire. Mesdames et Messieurs, bonjour. Je suis Madame Silla Khadignan, adjointe au maire de Dakar, chargée de la coopération décentralisée. Alors, je vais d'abord dire que le Sénégal a une population de 18 millions d'habitants et il faut savoir que la moitié de cette population a moins de 19 ans. Lorsqu'on prend les moins de 35 ans, il s'agit de 75% de la population. Ce qu'il faut aussi savoir, c'est que 47% de cette population est concentrée dans la région de Dakar. Donc c'est pour vous dire à quel point nous faisons face à des défis énormes en tant qu'élus de Dakar, parce que Dakar est une presqu'île. C'est petit, ça concentre 80% des activités économiques du pays sur 0,28% du territoire. Donc nous avons, nous, le devoir en tant qu'élus de trouver des moyens pour retenir ces jeunes, pour leur trouver de l'emploi ou les aider à trouver de l'emploi. Je sais que vous avez dû voir récemment au niveau de l'actualité internationale tous ces jeunes qui prennent les pirogues, qui bravent la mer pour aller vers un avenir meilleur. Donc nous cherchons des moyens de les retenir dans le pays et je vais parler de 3 initiatives que la ville de Dakar met en place pour justement retenir ces jeunes au niveau de la ville de Dakar, au niveau du pays. En termes d'éducation, ce que nous faisons, c'est que nous donnons des bourses d'études à des familles qui n'ont pas les moyens de financer les études de leurs enfants, dont nous les aidons après le lycée à avoir accès à des études supérieures. En tant que ville de Dakar, il faut savoir que le territoire de la ville de Dakar, c'est sur 19 communes d'arrondissement. Les communes n'ont pas des budgets énormes et souvent, dans certains arrondissements, il n'y a pas de lycée. Donc les jeunes se retrouvent à traverser toute une ville pour aller au lycée. Et c'est souvent un facteur de découragement et ça les pousse à arrêter le parcours scolaire. Donc nous essayons en tant que ville de Dakar de financer des constructions de lycées dans ces arrondissements ou dans ces communes pour permettre à ces jeunes de ne pas avoir à dépenser beaucoup d'argent pour se déplacer, pour poursuivre leur parcours scolaire. En ce qui concerne l'entrepreneuriat, hier j'en ai parlé par rapport au digital. Nous faisons des appels à projets pour justement pousser les jeunes à avoir des initiatives pour ne pas rester au chômage. Nous finançons ces projets, nous donnons des prix pour les meilleurs projets, pour les pousser justement à entreprendre quelque chose. Nous avons au niveau de la ville de Dakar le fonds de développement municipal qui finance, mais nous avons aussi une couveuse d'entreprises qui aide, qui donne des formations à l'entrepreneuriat, un suivi après la création. Nous avons mis ça en place avec la ville de Marseille, la ville de Montréal, et aujourd'hui cette couveuse va devenir un centre de formation professionnelle totalement, avec un accompagnement de l'Association internationale des maires francophones. Le dernier point que je vais soulever, c'est ce que nous faisons en matière de culture et sport. Vous savez qu'en 2026, Dakar va abriter les JOJ. Et donc aujourd'hui, nous investissons beaucoup dans le sport et dans le développement des cultures urbaines pour pousser les jeunes à avoir des initiatives dans le domaine du sport et de la culture. Nous avons créé des espaces publics où les jeunes peuvent se retrouver, avoir des activités culturelles, créer des projets culturels et mettre en place des actions dans le domaine du sport afin de préparer justement ces JOJ. Parce qu'après les JOJ, il y aura des infrastructures qui vont rester dans la ville de Dakar. Nous aimerions que ces jeunes puissent utiliser ces infrastructures pour des projets sportifs. Voilà. Voilà en gros ce que nous faisons au niveau de la ville de Dakar. Et je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Thank you very much, Ms Deputy Mayor. Mr Deputy Mayor Dushanbe, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Abdurrahmanzadeh Abdurrahman Safarel, Deputy Mayor of Dushanbe City, Tajikistan. It should be noted that Dushanbe's primary resource is human, intellectual, entrepreneurial, and cultural potential. This has been the driving force behind Dushanbe's high rates of development, with an annual economic growth rate of over 7% and an inflation rate of less than 4%. The average age of the city's population is 26.6 years. Almost 63% of the city's population are children, teenagers, and young adults. In the last almost 10 years, the capital city has demonstrated stable demographic growth. The population has grown by an average of 1.8% annually. The number of children's population by 2030 compared to 2023 will be increased by almost 30%. Advanced urbanization and rapid growth of the capital's population give grounds to forecast that by 2030 the city's population will exceed 1.5 million people, consolidating its position as the largest city in Tajikistan, as well as the proactive, modern, and successful city in the Central Asia. Rapid population growth will inevitably give rise to an increased demand for modern social facilities and employment opportunities, as well as energy and housing. The efforts of the city administration are aimed both at the growth of educational infrastructure to ensure the accessibility and at improving the quality of educational services, penetration of digital technologies. By now, all children and teenagers are covered by the secondary general education. By 2030, the number of schools and teachers will be increased by about 1/3. The percentage of the population aged 15 to 19 years enrolled in public or private educational institutions in the city will reach at least 85% compared to the 78% in 2023. Over the last 5 years, the capital's higher education institutions have annually educated on average more than 56% of all students in the country. Taking into account the importance of innovative trajectories of the economic growth, the city is building up its capacity for training specialists in technical areas. In the long term, city administration efforts will focus on the formation of a diversified and interconnected urban economy in which the generation and promotion of innovation will become key drivers of national growth and development. Dushanbe will become a major center known for its green and sustainable smart characteristics, innovative economy, effective planning and management structure, and efficiency of basic public services. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Mayor. I should apologise. Apparently I'm stuck on everyone's screens permanently. I am very sorry about that. They are trying to fix it. So hopefully you won't have to put up with that for too long. Next is Mr Deputy Mayor of Lodz. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I represent the city of Łódź, central Poland. And before I go to the points, I'll explain you why it's really important to me to have the opportunity and take advantage of it, to have the floor here. The city is approximately 700,000 people, agglomeration of circa about 1 million people. And it's a typical industrial area, which after the collapse of communism and communist economy in Poland in the early 90s, end of 80s, basically there stopped reasons why the city started. Because the collapse of industry and everything that was the reason which kept people in the city. And even though we invest a lot of money, a lot of EU funds, a lot of our own funds, to create opportunities for people, especially young people who are the future and who are the biggest assets of every location in the world, no matter if it's in Australia, Asia, Africa, or elsewhere. We still are on the region in Poland, which is on the EU Commission map of harnessing talents, despite programs, Youth in Łódź, and many other initiatives that were supposed to match young people with job opportunities, we still haven't reached the results that we intended and that we have to in order if we want to succeed. Because still, comparing to many other places in the world, the opportunities are there. The conditions of life are still decent. Nevertheless, for some reason, the city still does not fully succeed in talent retention, which in my opinion pursues opportunities. So I'm here not necessarily to share, but more to learn what are the most successful tools in cities like Cleveland, Birmingham, Southampton, Newcastle, where the opportunities and the magnitude of a city itself is insufficient to keep its best talent and prevent brain drain. And I would love to learn from you what are the most successful tools to tackle such challenge, which in my opinion is historic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. And you've articulated a theme that has come through many of our presentations this morning, that focus on being able to retain our young people within our cities and all of the skills and talents that will help build our cities for the future. And that takes us on to our next city, which is... apologies, Valmiera. Mr Mayor, the floor is yours.
Hello, colleagues. My name is Jānis Baigs and I am Mayor of Valmiera. We must realize that today's youth today live in the world of our past decisions. Knowing this, we can more responsibly shape the world that we leave for the future generations. And to ensure this, we must not only listen to young people, cooperate with them, but involve them in decision-making processes as equal partners, providing them with opportunities to participate in shaping their future today. That is why work with young people is our priority. We offer very good education in a modern infrastructure, many attractive leisure opportunities. Result of that, if in Valmiera lives 25,000 inhabitants, in last 7 years, number of school children has increased by 600 students. One of the new problems faced by young people in Valmiera is the large offer of possibilities. The city offers many opportunities for education, professional development and free time. It is often difficult for youngsters to navigate this range of offers. Our task is not only to provide these opportunities, but also to effectively help young people to identify and use them. One of our new experience is youth initiative projects are implemented in Valmiera. Project competition in which young people have the opportunity to obtain funding for the realization of their ideas. Such competitions not only encourage creativity and entrepreneurship, but also give young people practical experience in project management and help implement ideas that impact the local community. These initiatives have promoted the involvement and growth of young people, creating not only opportunities for them to improve, but also providing a platform where they can actively participate in the development of society and understand their opportunities locally and at the European level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Deputy Mayor of Tirana, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. It's a great pleasure to talk about the development of youth in the city of Tirana. And the whole municipality has taken a very holistic approach, trying to create that trust among our young generation. And in Tirana, we have the youngest, the highest number of young people. Unfortunately, we still are suffering from brain drain. Most of them has been, especially on the young people, are going to study abroad, and some of them still remains in the cities that they learn, but a good portion of these people return back to the city. And the city exactly tackled this retainment and the development of young generation with a very holistic approach, taking care of the infrastructure as the first thing. And throughout this period, we have reconstructed from scratch 42 new schools, and being them as the best examples of school facilities, being them the same in the urban area and in the rural area. And we have definitely reconstructed the facilities of all 158 elementary schools, nurseries and kindergartens in whole territory of Tirana, being them in the city and in the rural area. We tried to maximize the trust that the young people has in our municipality. So we, together with many other donors and organizations, has created in the city the Youth City Councils. So we included them into the decision-making and participation of decision-making of the city. It has resulted one of the best decisions and best things that we could ask them to bring, which are the most needed things that they need in each of their neighborhoods, to decide together how we are going to improve their life and the life of the other citizens in the city. So together with the Youth City Council, we have included them into the development strategic plan of the city, and there have been hundreds of consultations in each of the neighborhoods in order to bring their voice in. And following up with the European Youth Capital that Tirana was in 2022 and the European Capital of Sports in 2023, we have followed up with continuing and providing grants to all the youth NGOs that exist in the city, and not only increasing their creativity, life of, but educating them. One of the biggest, I would say, examples is the renovation of the pyramid of Tirana. Previously was the mausoleum of our dictator, and now it's turned into the highest and biggest innovation and creative technology center for young people, 12 until 18 years old. And there are more than 1,500 kids are being educated in 8 different programs throughout the year. And this has been exactly the things that the city has tried to see, how we can maximize, how we can follow up everything that is promised by the City Council to the exact impact that they are having into the life of our young generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Deputy Mayor, and I'll now go to your neighbour in the room, Mr. Mayor from Turbat. Ketch, the floor is yours.
Madam Vice Chair. Hello everyone, my name is Balakshir Baloch. I am from Turbat, Pakistan. I am a mayor of Turbat. As one of my colleagues mentioned earlier, as a 34-year-old mayor, I also proudly identify myself as a part of the youth, alongside with my council, which is made up of over 70% young individuals. Turbat has the highest literacy rate in our province and ranks 8th in the country, despite being a remote area. Demonstrating our commitment to education and youth empowerment, we are also focusing on engaging our youth in sports by providing them with necessary equipment and organizing tournaments in collaboration with local sports association. These efforts ensure that our young generation is not only educated but also actively and be active and healthy, contributing to a brighter future for our city, Turbat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That takes us on to other colleagues joining us today and our representative from the city of Sopot. The floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Magdalena Czarzyńska-Jachim, the mayor of city of Sopot in Poland. It's a small city, but in a big agglomeration of Gdańsk. I would like to underline that the necessity of doing our policies not only for young people, but with the young people. They are very sensible of that, and it's only one way to engage them to our public life. So in Sopot we have, of course, Youth City Council, but with independent budget. And this Youth City Council made the rules of participatory budgets in all schools in Sopot. In high schools and primary schools, we have participatory budget, the same amount of money, and the only students can propose and vote for the project realized after at the schools. And I think that this is the best way to engage young people and to feel their needs and to create our city more friendly for young people, with young people, not only for young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mayor. That moves us on to next our colleague from UCLG. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I would like to bring the idea and as well the idea of connecting this forum with the Summit of the Future. And we really appreciate from the Global Task Force everything that our members are doing with youth, but we will try to focus on the idea of future generations. Building on the idea of the Vice Mayor of Utrecht about rebuilding trust, the idea that we have after COVID of the anxiety that it represents talking about the future for societies, and to not misunderstood what future generations are, which is different from youth. Future generations are those who have not been born yet, and we need to be accountable for these future generations, and we need to build accountable institutions for these generations. So this forum can talk about the new essentials and the right to development of these people. During the negotiations of the Pact for the Future and the Declaration on Future Generations, there was a huge debate about the right to development, which is linked to the right to public services. And it is linked to the duty that you have as mayors, and that we understand that you don't have time many times to talk about the new essentials. What will be needed for those who haven't been born yet? What is the type of housing that the future generations will need? Where does this housing has to be located? What are the type of new public schools that they will deserve, or international cooperation that will be needed in 2060. So what we can start doing, and this was one of the ideas at the very beginning of our Commons Agenda negotiations, which was the repurposing of the Trusteeship Council, we can repurpose the multilateral system to have and to give a space for mayors to talk about these ideas. What is the right to water in 2060? How am I going to be accountable of the decisions that I'm taking for those who have not been born yet? And for us, this is the hook to link our constituency to the Declaration of Future Generations, because it is all about public service delivery. It is public services that need to be accountable to the people that are yet coming. So a proposal for the forum is to focus as well, to offer a space for mayors and governors to think about this beyond their own responsibilities, that we know that they are immediate with present generations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. There's some food for thought in that contribution. That moves us on to colleagues from academia who I'm told are also authentic young voices in the room. So first of all, over on the left-hand side.
Good morning. Buenos días. My name is Verónica de Santos Quesada, and I am from Jalisco, Mexico, and I'm studying my master's in urban planning at the University of California, Los Angeles. Based on many mayors have said so far about incorporating youth into the public sector and participatory activities, I want to emphasize the importance of scholarships for students. By providing more scholarships, we can promote greater participation and foster better outcomes for students who have come from diverse backgrounds. The students who, like me, face daily financial hardships and the threat of violence in their communities. Growing up in Mexico, these challenges were my reality. The reason that I'm here today is because I was fortunate to receive the California Transportation Scholarship, which is given to one student in the state of California. This scholarship recognized my passion and commitment for urban planning and for my work in promoting and prioritizing community engagement in immigrant communities in California. Scholarships like this one offer substantial opportunities for people like me, people who have experienced inequality firsthand. As a young woman of color with a strong passion for supporting communities and ensuring that no one is left behind, I am calling for a chance and a change in how my generation is perceived. Too often, we are second-guessed, or ideas are questioned, and we are relegated to roles like note-takers or assistants, rather than being seen as equal contributors. As the mayor of Utrecht said, it is time to truly listen to us and give us a seat on the table. We care deeply about our future, and we want to be part of shaping it. So I encourage you to empower us to lead, innovate, and create a future that benefits all through scholarships for disadvantaged students.
Thank you very much. And our video link has now been fixed. So if you stay to speak from your chair, we will be able to see you now, rather than just having to look at me all the time. We have some other cities who've indicated, but I'm going to go to our other colleague from academia over on the right here, and then we'll return to the cities. Thank you.
Excellencies, Majors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matteo Minoggio. I'm an international master's student based in Rome and also a co-president of a student association on diplomacy and international relations. I want to thank the organization of the forum for allowing also young people, students, to assist and also to actively participate. What I want to do briefly today is to deliver two brief personal insights that might be useful for the mayors here today. So the first point has been actually quite mentioned by most of the mayors, so the active involvement of young people. It's a real pleasure to see this, because the engagement and dedication from the young people's side is there, and the platforms like youth councils, youth parliaments, Q&As and so on are really important for also motivating young students to start some kind of careers for the future. So thank you for this. The second point is a suggestion, which is the evaluation of intergenerational impact. This is a technique applied on national but also regional levels. It was born in Germany, Austria, but it has been applied on a local city level in Parma, in Italy, in Emilia-Romagna. It's a mechanism that goes into the legislative process and allows to evaluate all kinds of bills, laws, regulations on their intergenerational impact. It allows to see if the intergenerational differences are increased or reduced through concrete laws and regulations, and they are an opportunity to start right away to work for the future generations. And since cities like the city of Parma became really a forerunner through this technique, it might be an interesting contribution for all the other majors here today. It's called Youth Check in many European realities, or the evaluation of intergenerational impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we now return to our cities, and I'm delighted to hand the floor to my fellow Vice Chair, Mayor Rio. The floor is yours.
Just to save time, I'll speak from here. Good morning, everyone. Just to let you know that Braga has been the city that has grown more in population in Portugal in the last decade. We are growing at a fast rate for a developed city on the other round with the rest of the country and with the other big cities. And we have a major component of our population, which is young population. We have nearly 40% of our population below 30 years old, which obviously creates some obligations to the municipality in terms of assuring good opportunities for these youngsters in terms of economic development and access to jobs, in terms of education, in terms of access to culture, and also in terms of other areas that are crucial for the future of these generations. To do so, we have a strong engagement with all the youth associations in our territory. We have a very dynamic Youth Council, which gathers more than 60 associations from all levels, from youth participants. Together with them, we created the first participative budget for youngsters in our country, which is the You Decide participative budget, in which we allocate funding for projects that are proposed and voted by the youngsters for themselves and for the whole society, because it's somehow curious that some of the projects that they propose are not only addressed to youngsters, but to the whole society as a whole. And we have also been the European Capital of Youth in 2012, the Ibero-American Capital of Youth in 2016, and we will proudly host in the upcoming month of February at the Chamber of Local Authorities from the Council of Europe to kick off the process of the revision of the youth chapter of the Council of Europe. And so Braga has been continuously linked with the shape of youth policies on a more global level. And that's why I'm also very happy with the topics that were included in the Pact of the Future of assuring the intergenerational responsibility of the policies, as the representative of UCLG just mentioned, because in Braga, as we are very committed with the Sustainable Development Goals, we are now creating something quite innovative, which is the Court of the Future. We are asking youngsters to assess the impact of each of our policies in terms of the benefits and the costs for the future generations. And so it's like having some sort of an accreditation that each of the initiatives that we develop don't damage the opportunities of the future generations. And I think this is something that we need to bring more and more to public policy making. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rico. And now to our colleague from the city of Split. The floor is yours.
Waiting for the, yes, okay. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, dear delegates and colleagues. In the city of Split, we are, I think, implementing all the usual things that we are all doing, improving infrastructures for the kindergartens and schools, and now preparing, once this infrastructure will be finished in a few years from now, to invest in the content of that infrastructure. As an example, we have started one program which is called STEM FEM, in which we are motivating young girls from 13 to 15 years old for the career in the STEM fields. For example, this program turned out to be very popular and successful. They are making projects of connection of technology and fashion, technology and beauty industry, and they are learning that technology is everywhere and around us. But apart from that, I think that the most important is to change the rhetorics in the public space towards the young people. We should stop talking about how the world is going wrong, that the future is dark, and that everything will end up in the disaster. The reality is completely different. The world is doing fine. We live in the best period of human history, and it will be even better. The world has its challenges like climate changes, artificial intelligence, geopolitical crisis, which we are solving. We should encourage and motivate young people. They are better persons than us, which means that we succeeded in raising the new generation, and they will make the world even better. The most important thing is to give them the motivation and space to create, and they will use it for the best of all of us. Thank you.
Colleagues, I have 3 more speakers indicated, and then we are going to close that session, this session. I won't be able to take any more speakers. We did start slightly late, so we have caught up on time, but we're now running over time. But we do have to go on to our next session. So next, to our colleague from the city of Lille, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, dear Vice Chair Lady. My name is Carlos Carmen. I'm the Deputy Mayor of Lille. I'm responsible for areas such as environment, climate action, sports, and the implementation of SDGs. Lille is a municipality in the south of Portugal, located in the well-tourist region of the Algarve. I'm honored to speak today about how we engage young people and communicate with them effectively. We cannot address the challenge faced by young people without involving them directly. Listening to them is essential. In Lille, we organize young assembly with students for different schools. The assemblies allow young people to discuss local issues, provide feedback, and present ideas on topics such as climate action, mobility, housing, and education. By involving them in decision-making process and in crucial decision, we have developed projects that reflect their needs and encourage their participation. Housing and career opportunities are some of the main challenges young people face today. Lille has made a significant investment in biomedical and biotechnology research and development, and in a local university health center. The aims to diversify the local job market, with this currently depend on tourism by providing more specialized opportunities. With such investment and development, we will be in the future a region will be pioneers in these sectors, attracting both young and talent and the scientific community nationally and internationally. Another area we believe young people are deeply concerned about is climate action. Climate change is a pressing issue, and one of our greatest challenges is water management. In our region, we must carefully manage every drop, balancing the needs of both urban areas and agriculture. I wear the SDGs budget with great pride, and it represents our chair's mission and commitment to a sustainable future, a future that can only succeed if we engage young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry for mispronouncing your city. My eyesight wasn't good enough to see the accent on your final E there. That takes us to our colleagues at the Global Cities Hub. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to take the floor to support our colleague from UCLG. Unfortunately, he's left the room, but I found his statement about future generations very interesting. Indeed, we need to anticipate. And I think the Forum of Mayors could be an interesting body to do some foresight exercise that you've heard about a lot, basically, in the framework of the Summit of the Future. I had a discussion with a colleague yesterday, and indeed, mayors are very busy with providing the best possible public services to their own population, and I acknowledge that's challenging enough as a task, basically. But maybe the forum could be, you know, a space where we could project cities in the future. It could be useful, you know, for cities to anticipate issues, and I can hear here that common challenges are very much shared among cities. So why don't we, you know, think about it for future editions to discuss future scenarios in the environment, on youth, on resilience, on public transportation. That way we could encourage cities and states to think together about the future they want for their own cities. I know it's not an easy exercise, but here I have full trust, you know, about the collective intelligence of all of us, all the mayors, deputy mayors here, to debate about the future that we want for our city. So just a word of support again for UCLG on that point. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker is from the NGOs. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I'm Samar Aburad. I represent the International Road Assessment Program, IRAP. IRAP focuses on the assessment of the safety of mobility and the safety of the streets and roads for all road users. We are part of the UN Road Safety Collaboration. I just wanted to point out that according to the World Health Organization Global Road Safety Status Report, road traffic injuries is the leading cause of death for children and youth from age 5 to 29. It is important that cities do not forget that unsafe streets impact the SDGs in many ways. I will just cite some. Every day, thousands of children and youth lose their right to education through road traffic injuries around the world. The poor bear the hardest burden of road crashes. Underfunding of public transportation in cities fuels further car dependency. Making streets safer engenders more zero-carbon walking and cycling. Through the Child Health Initiative and Advocacy Hub, we are supporting partnerships for safe and healthy streets for children, young people, and the climate in cities worldwide. Finally, I just wanted to let you know that IRAP is a charity organization mainly funded by the FIA Foundation. We have developed free tools to support decision makers in cities and road authorities to assess the safety of their streets and roads for all road users. Just that the point of safe mobility is still something that we need to always add on the list of the cities' initiatives. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, thank you very much for all of your contributions in this discussion about youth and future generations. It's been, I think, an incredibly rich discussion. Impossible for me to summarise the breadth of contributions that we've had, but we've had a lot of themes in common from different parts of the world. But ultimately what has come through incredibly strongly is the efforts that are being made by cities of all shapes and sizes and in all parts of the world to create better lives for their children, their young people, and indeed for future generations in the places where they are. And the range and creativity and imagination of the work that's being carried out by cities is genuinely inspiring. So thank you very much, all of you, for your contributions. And I think just a final mention of the point made by our colleague from Lodz in Poland, that this is also an opportunity for all of us to learn from each other. None of us have all of the answers, and this forum gives us that chance to hear from each other and go away with great ideas. I'm going to move straight on now to the fifth segment of the forum, which is titled Transforming Global Governance. And in this segment, we'll discuss the role of cities in supporting global governance and achieving gender balance within that. So firstly, I'm very pleased to invite Mr. Kurt Garrigan, Chief of the Sustainable Urban Development Section, Environment and Development Division, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, to brief us on the fifth chapter of Pact for the Future, which is related to this theme. Welcome, Mr. Garrigan.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair, honourable mayors, distinguished guests. First, I would like to thank the Economic Commission for Europe for engaging the other regional commissions in the Forum of Mayors, and express our appreciation to the Global Cities Hub for making it possible for mayors from other regions to add their voices to the deliberations in this forum. I do have the privilege of presenting Chapter 5 of the Pact for the Future on transforming global governance. While you will see that many of the actions in this chapter are on reforming the UN system broadly, much of the narrative focuses on broadening representation, and there is some key text that highlights subnational and local levels and potentially gives a stronger voice to local authorities. I will begin by highlighting the chapter's actions, and if we can go to the next slide, please. I'm not going to read everything here, but you'll see that many of these actions on this first slide are about transforming global governance and reinvigorating the multilateral system, reforming the Security Council, strengthening efforts in the framework of intergovernmental negotiations on that Security Council reform, and strengthening the response of the Security Council. Those are at the highest level of the United Nations. Revitalizing the work of the General Assembly, strengthening the Economic and Social Council, the Peacebuilding Commission, and strengthening generally the UN system. And I think importantly here on this slide, the effective enjoyment by all of human rights. And by all, I think what we would emphasize is the citizenry of local communities. Next slide, please. This is where I think we start to see the opportunity and the door opening for local authorities, accelerating the reform of the international financial architecture to address the challenges of today and tomorrow. We would say that many of those challenges are intersecting in local communities and in cities. Action 48, strengthening the voice and representation of developing countries. I would add that it's important to include the representation of cities within those developing countries. It's impossible to talk about the needs of countries without looking also at their local communities. Mobilizing additional financing for the Sustainable Development Goals. And you heard over the last couple of days the need to improve financing and access to financing if we are to accelerate action against the SDGs. Looking at improving the ability of countries to borrow sustainably and invest in long-term developments. Making the financial system more stable. Meeting the urgent need of climate change and challenge of climate change. Much of the climate action is needed at the local level, as you've already heard and as you experience in your communities every day. And the frameworks for measuring progress on sustainable development, going well beyond gross domestic products. You've heard, and many of you have undertaken voluntary local reviews as one tool, one mechanism, one opportunity to really, for local communities to contribute to that measurement. Next slide, please. Strengthening the international response to complex global shocks. Many of those are occurring in local communities and are impacting disproportionately vulnerable communities in cities. Strengthening partnerships. And then I'll come back to that one in a bit later. International cooperation, exploration of use of outer space and benefit of all humanity. Actually, many local communities are using satellite data, satellite imagery to really inform much of their planning. Next slide. So as in the other chapters presented by the regional commissions, we'd like to highlight where local authorities and cities could engage, not only through forums such as this, but through city networks and platforms for cities to come together in sub-regional, regional, and global venues. We notice the emphasis here in these two actions on partnerships. And as you have heard here yesterday and in the associated and side events, partnerships are essential to achieve the SDGs and are even more important to overall UN system reform. And as you have heard and expressed, cities and mayors are ready and able to join and to lead those partnerships. So we see underrepresented and unrepresented regions and groups, including in Asia Pacific and Latin America. And again, it's important that the ECE has included mayors and representatives from those other regions. Looking at cross-regional groups, continuing discussion on the representation of those groups. Action 41. Actively engaging regional and sub-regional authorities or in sub-regional arrangements to fully implement the resolutions that are made at the General Assembly. I would also like to go, if we could go to the next slide, please. This is one that was mentioned yesterday, and I'll focus specifically on Action 55, on those partnerships. The UN Habitat Deputy Executive Director highlighted paragraph 83E, which looked at recommendations on how engagement with local and regional authorities could advance the 2030 agenda, and particularly the localization of the SDGs. And it is especially timely, given that recommendation that the SG has to come back to member states at the 79th session, that forums like this and the voices of mayors really help to inform the opportunities for localization that emerge from cities. So once again, thank you to UN ECE for its organization of the forum. We, along with other UN agencies such as UN Habitat, are working on many of these same issues. And we look forward to working with all of you to address some of these urban and local issues that are common across cities, not just in Europe, but across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garrigan, for your presentation. That was an excellent context setting for our discussion. And without further ado, we will move on to that because we are tighter for time on this session because the last one was so popular. So in making your interventions, colleagues, please consider the following questions. How has your city contributed to the implementation of intergovernmental commitments or multilateral agreements? What are the main challenges that your city faces in participating in global decision-making processes, and how can these be addressed? How can city authorities strengthen their involvement in UN intergovernmental bodies to help respond to global challenges effectively? So you're invited again to request the floor by raising your city's nameplate. I think you know the process by now, but a quick reminder, cities with a yellow nameplate first, then other cities, and lastly, countries, academia, NGOs and other international organisations. And if you could keep your contributions to no more than 3 minutes and stick to the topics discussed, would be much appreciated. Thank you. And the first city I see is Mr. Mayor of Quebec. The floor is yours.
La question est totalement pertinente parce que c'est un réel défi non pas par intérêt ou par manque de pertinence, mais c'est un réel défi de pouvoir faire en sorte de multiplier ces relations-là, notamment entre villes et avec des grandes organisations. Le défi qu'on a, et c'est peut-être pas le défi partout dans le monde, mais le défi qu'on a à Québec est entre autres lié à la participation à ces missions qui sont énormément critiquées dans l'opinion publique, qui sont énormément source de haine envers les élus municipaux, notamment le maire que je suis, lorsqu'on le fait. On croit à la pertinence de ça, mais la difficulté est réelle et ça nous oblige à parfois limiter le nombre d'interactions de ce type-là, bien qu'on les trouve très pertinentes. Il y a quelque chose qui peut nous aider, qui peut nous aider peut-être de façon commune, c'est d'être toujours capable de démontrer les résultats, de démontrer des résultats concrets. C'est pas toujours facile sur des grandes ambitions comme celle d'aujourd'hui et celle des villes. Si on va avoir des résultats à long terme, on n'a pas toujours des résultats à court terme, mais on a le défi de faire en sorte de démontrer pragmatiquement à quoi ça sert, parce que c'est pas tout le monde qui le comprend. Comment notre ville contribue à faire en sorte qu'avec les différents gouvernements, on réussisse à faire bouger les choses? Je pense qu'entre villes et avec organisations, le partage de bonnes pratiques est nécessaire. C'est la clé pour qu'on puisse démontrer que nous sommes capables d'aller plus rapidement par le partage d'informations, par le partage de bonnes pratiques et faire en sorte, là aussi, de démontrer la pertinence de ce type d'entente, de ce type de participation, de ce type d'organisation. Ça reste un défi, nous y croyons beaucoup, mais il faut être capable encore plus que jamais de démontrer tout ce qu'on y gagne comme ville et ce que ça change concrètement pour nos citoyens. Ça permet, après ça, d'avoir des meilleures pratiques qu'on met en place dans nos villes au bénéfice de nos citoyens.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And our colleagues from The Hague, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair and ladies and gentlemen. The City of The Hague has always been at the forefront of global government initiatives. And in fact, this year, 2024, marks the 125th anniversary of The Hague's coming of age as an international city of peace and justice. It was in 1899 and 1907 that a series of international treaties were negotiated at 2 international peace conferences in The Hague. These Hague Conventions were among the first formal agreements of the law of war and war crimes in international law and laid the groundwork for later international humanitarian law initiatives, including the Geneva Conventions. Most tangible results of these early multilateral peace conferences was the creation of the world's first truly international court, the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which until this day resides in The Hague Peace Palace, alongside UN's International Court of Justice. By building these historical foundations, The Hague now envisions to be the leading city in fostering peace and justice worldwide. By building on these historical foundations, The Hague now envisions to be leading city in fostering peace and justice worldwide. We aim to do so by leveraging our international reputation as a hub for international law, global governance, and digital security. To this end, we foster an international community in The Hague, jointly thriving for a peaceful and just world for future generations by innovative solutions through cooperation, dialogue, and diplomacy. We call this movement our ecosystem of peace and justice. And we take pride in our role as a host city and take care of our international organizations and NGOs. As to give you merely an example of how this works out, in these times of geopolitical turmoil and technological advancement, we see increased cybersecurity risk for NGOs, as they are amongst the most vulnerable targets whilst operating on the forefront of humanitarian crises and conflicts. Therefore, we have teamed up with companies and philanthropies to offer a comprehensive cybersecurity program to our NGOs free of charge. Additionally, yesterday, an ambition action plan was launched at the Peace Palace. A Nobel Prize laureate, big donors, impact investors, NGO leaders, diplomats, cybersecurity experts, and the City of The Hague gathered to establish a global fund dedicated to cybersecurity as common good. And this symbolizes The Hague's commitment to both multilateralism and the worldwide movement of humanitarian non-profits. But the main challenge for The Hague is to foster extensive international relations in both a complex local and national political context where populist politics, nationalist tendencies, and illiberal voices are gaining influence. We should be aware of the risk that these developments pose for budgets and policies for international cooperation, whilst recognizing that it's only through international cooperation that we can effectively advocate our interest in global decision-making processes. And in general, and we also hear that here today and yesterday, a strong unified voice of the city needs to be amplified at intergovernmental UN bodies, for example, through a strengthened role of the Forum of Mayors, or through other influential city networks. Next to that, cities should invest in relations with their national government, for example, via permanent representations, as they might prove to be very constructive partners. And as I heard and spoke many of you here these 2 days, one thing struck me the most is that in all the differences we have as cities, as countries, as continents, we also have a lot in common as cities. We all work and thrive to do the best for our inhabitants, to do the best for our future generations also. And I think we have that all in common, and that we are all working on a better place for our own citizens. And all together as cities, we are working towards a better future and a better world for our youth and our future generations. So whether we discuss security, energy, mobility, or affordable housing, we all take action to ensure a peaceful, sustainable, and prosperous future for our citizens and future generations. So let us be united because we are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we've gone from a bit of a flood to a drought in terms of volunteer contributions from cities so far. So please don't be shy. I will, if I have to, follow the example of Mayor Rio yesterday and start volunteering whether you like it or not. But hopefully that encouragement will start lots of yellow signs up on their end. In the meantime, though, I'm very glad to go to Mayor Ganelli from Arezzo. The floor is yours.
Good morning again. So today, some 56% of the world's population, which is 4.4 billion inhabitants, live in cities. This trend is expected to continue, with the urban population more than doubling its current size by 2050, at which point nearly 7 of 10 people will live in cities. With more than 80% of global GDP generated in cities, urbanization can contribute to sustainable growth through increased productivity and innovation if managed correctly. Those are data from World Bank of 2023. In this context, it is easy to affirm without fear of contradiction that whatever agreement signed at national level to become operative has to be layered and implemented in cities to be effective. Arezzo is actually playing its part in being an advocacy to the European, national and regional level in defining cooperation strategies regarding various issues from the environment to innovation to education and social challenges. The city of Arezzo, like many other cities around the world, faces several challenges in participating in global decision-making processes. Some of the main challenges include limited resources. Cities often have limited resources compared to national governments, making it difficult to participate in international organizations and conferences. Lack of representation. Cities may not have adequate representation in international organizations, leading to their voice being marginalized. Coordination challenges. Coordinating with other cities and national governments can be difficult, especially when dealing with complex issues like climate change or sustainable development. Language barriers. Language barriers can hinder communication and understanding between cities from different countries. To address these challenges, Arezzo can take the following steps. First, strengthen international partnership. Arezzo is forming partnership with other cities and international organizations to share resources, expertise, and best practice. Since 2017, Arezzo is part of Eurocities. Eurocities, for those that don't know, is a network of large cities in Europe established in 1986 by the mayors of 6 large cities, at that time Barcelona, Birmingham, Frankfurt, Lyon, Milan, and Rotterdam. Today, Eurocities members include over 200 of Europe's major cities from 38 countries, which between them represent over 130 million people. Advocate for city representation. Arezzo can advocate for increased representation of cities in international organizations and decision-making processes. Develop a strong international presence. Arezzo is establishing right now a strong international presence through being part of United Nations, UNAOC, OECD initiatives, cultural exchanges, and economic cooperation with other cities and institutions. Invest in language training. Arezzo can invest, we will do it, in language training for city officials to improve communication and understanding with international counterparts. Leverage technology. Arezzo can use technology to facilitate communication, collaboration, and knowledge sharing with other cities and international organizations. By addressing these challenges, my town can play a more active and influential role in global decision-making processes and contribute to addressing the world's most pressing issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Many of your points there resonated very strongly with my experience in Glasgow. Next, we go to Mayor Roslan from Clang. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Contribution through our participation in local authority association, for my city especially, has encouraged, enable us to share knowledge and learn from others within our own countries. And I believe through that association also, I became involved in the international level. Organizations like UCLG, ICLEI, ASCAP, PAMSI, which is Partnership in Environmental Management for Seas of East Asia, has widened our understanding on global issues and increased our knowledge and approaches towards handling our common problems. Nevertheless, our representation at the national, at the global level are very limited, and it is among those who are active in these international organizations only that get involved. And at the national level, our involvement are mainly limited to one ministry, which is housing and local government, whereas our issues cover huge areas of governance, social and environmental spheres. Malaysia has this unique system of evaluation, which we call star rating, for which every year local governments are evaluated in their governance and service delivery, including our initiatives towards sustainability. Therefore, since the early 2000s, every city has been competing to get as many stars, which is 5 is the highest ratings, and complying to the indicators that has been set by the federal government to improve our service deliveries. At the same time, we also have this what we call MURNI-NET or sustainability indicators that we have to abide to and try to increase our involvement and participation as much as possible to increase our initiatives towards sustainability. So I believe through organization and multilateral governments level participation enables local authority to enable us to share what we have. One other thing that we have in Malaysia also, we have Malaysia Urban Forum, and during those times we share good practices with each other, and we have this award for innovation, which the winners get about 1 million ringgit fund for development for those who wins the Innovations Award. Thank you.
Thank you very much. While we're waiting for some other cities to put their heads above the parapet, I'll go to our colleagues from Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much for the very insightful presentation, and it was also nice to hear from the different cities around the world. I would like to take this brief opportunity to give some information about the COP29 presidency initiatives that are related to cities. As many of you are aware, the COP29 will be held in Azerbaijan this year, and about 2 weeks ago, the COP29 presidency announced the presidency initiatives as part of its action agenda to accelerate progress on climate action and supplement the formal negotiated COP agenda. The action agenda represents an ambitious effort by the COP29 presidency to drive action across all climate pillars and covers a range of key priorities such as energy, finance, agriculture, cities, human development, and a climate peace nexus, among others. Cities have a lot to contribute to implementing intergovernmental commitments, and they also face a lot of challenges in doing so. And so, as part of Urbanization Day at COP29, there will be a multi-sectoral actions pathway declaration for resilient and healthy cities. This initiative is part of the COP29 action agenda and will aim to bring together stakeholders from across society to drive progress and collaboration on transport and infrastructure, nature, health, and agriculture, as well as construction, energy, efficient buildings, and early warning systems in cities. It will also focus on financing urban climate action. We think this dialogue will go a long way in strengthening the authorities' involvement in these intergovernmental processes and to help respond better to the climate crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll go to our colleague from academia over on the left.
It's always a pleasure to see the Palace of Nations being transformed into the Palace of Cities for these days. We are going to share the experience of what we have been putting together, and I've called it the Promoting SDGs Diplomacy and Partnerships to Enhance Global Governance. Academia has worked backstage to bridge cities, central governments, and UN agencies such as UN Habitat and UNEC to design and implement the SDGs Cities Lusophone Initiative. The program consists of implementing SDGs through 4 stages. First stage is breathing the SDGs. Second stage is planning and co-creating and publishing the VLR. The third stage is about VLR implementation through a pipeline of SDG projects and reinforcement of institutions. And the fourth stage is about monitoring and optimizing the process. It all started when we developed the MAFRA VLR, today known as MAFRA model, and proposed to UN Habitat at the World Urban Forum in 2022 to create an SDG city lab. The answer was to replicate it in Portugal and to expand in Lusophone cities. SDG labs have been implemented in Portuguese cities, and each city is now developing a SDG lab partnership with cities in all Lusophone nations on all continents. The first formal meeting took place at the high-level political forum in 2024, where he also had the opportunity to share the initiative with the UN Secretary-General. While developing this program, we understood that SDG implementation allows us to cooperate in various subjects, such as fiscal management, project and pipeline organization, aligned with job creation and private sector participation. We express our sincere gratitude to the UN organizations for its invaluable support. It has provided a familiar and neutral ground for speaking the SDG development language and has propelled us towards global cooperation in pursuing the common good. The next step will take place at World Urban Forum 2024 in Cairo in November, and it would be a pleasure to share all this with you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, I'm going to abuse the chair for a moment and perhaps speak from the point of view of my city, Glasgow, in Scotland, in the United Kingdom. When my administration first took power in Glasgow in 2017, there was very little done in the city in the way of international connections and international interaction. And in fact, we found an international strategy, a document on a shelf somewhere, which was already 5 years out of date. And it was largely focused on charity and charitable works, particularly in the country of Malawi, which has very strong connections with Scotland. And that felt to us very dated and an approach that really needed to be modernised and brought into the 21st century. And an opportunity came our way, and the colleague from Azerbaijan made me think about this when we were chosen to be the host city for COP26 in 2021, just in the middle of the pandemic. The COP was delayed for a year for that reason. And it was the biggest event that Glasgow had ever hosted, and certainly indeed that Scotland had ever hosted at that point. Glasgow is a major host city in the world, but primarily for sporting events. Up until that point, we had never hosted a major international diplomatic event like COP26. So it was very new for us. But we decided to grasp that opportunity and to use that moment to create as many international connections as we could as a city. And we used our city hall, it's called the City Chambers, as the base for the host city zone. We described it as the World City Hall for that period of COP. And I'm delighted to say that many mayors, some of whom are represented in many cities who are represented here at the Forum of Mayors, came to Glasgow City Chambers and took part in that, in discussions there. And I think it was a big step forward, which then resulted in the progress that we saw at COP28 last year, where cities had their own session and their own opportunity for mayors to speak on the stage and make contributions at COP. And there will be, as we've heard already, more progress again at COP29 for the presence and influence of cities to be felt there. But I very much recognised what Mayor Ginelli from Arezzo was saying about the challenges that are inherent for cities in maintaining international connections at the depth that we really want to in order to be able to have that influence. It is an additional piece of work for our our officials on top of their day jobs a lot of the time, and that takes resource. It takes human resource as well as financial resource. And we've seen in our discussions yesterday, our introductory discussions about the Pact for the Future, where cities push forward, sometimes we're pushed back again a bit, and that can be disappointing. So although I think the opportunities for cities to come together and talk to each other are probably greater than they've ever been, and often those opportunities are directly connected to international bodies, whether that's the OECD or the European Union or indeed the United Nations, we do still have work to do and progress to make in making the inroads that we would really want to have the influence, because it's clear that some national governments and nation states still feel a tension between their representation and the representation of cities, rather than those being complementary and supportive of each other, as I think city leaders would understand it. So we still have some way to go to be speaking the same language. And cities need ongoing support to be able to help us navigate the often extremely complex and a little bit bemusing sometimes world of international institutions. And that's been a very strong lesson for us from Glasgow. It can be a challenge for us to continue to remain engaged at the international level as much as we would like to. We remain committed to doing so alongside the cities who are represented here today, and we are a growing example of the commitment of cities to be part of the world, to be part of the wider world, and to bring our influence and our experience and our knowledge about the challenges and the opportunities that exist in our places and for our people to the development of international policies, because they will be better international policies if they're informed by the experiences of city leaders. But it is undoubtedly a challenge, and I recognise the points that other cities have made in acknowledging that up until now. With apologies for abusing the chair, hopefully some other cities might be encouraged to come in and make your own points on this theme. But I will go to our colleague at the Global Cities Hub. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Actually, you said it all. So I could come directly to my conclusion, but having the mic, let me make some comments, just echoing what you said. At the very beginning of the Forum of Mayors, the advocate for the Forum, Lord Norman Foster, left the podium with the message, think big. I would like to reformulate this message and talking about the Pact for the Future and the transformation of global governance, think creative. We have heard a lot of different platforms and levels of possible cooperation when the voice of cities and city leaders is needed to be heard, be it the network of cities on a given topic, be it regional organizations at the EU level in Africa, be it financial or political, the multilateral development banks who are more and more open to work with cities, be it events organized by our precious colleagues at the regional economic commissions all around the world. We heard several examples from several regions. Your voice is needed to be heard. What we can offer you here in Geneva, I believe, and the Forum of Mayors is clearly the anchor for this activity, is to make the link to the different international organizations and to make sure that you can have an access to discuss your needs and to propose your vision for the future directly with the specialized international organizations or directly to the UN Secretariat. And I encourage all of you to adopt this afternoon the outcome document of the forum and encourage member states to make the forum an example and perhaps an example to upgrade in the future to make a platform where your vision becomes a mandate for the higher levels of governance. And we also heard that there are challenges you face for engagement. So please use us also, the Global Cities Hub or other platforms here in Geneva to help you to overcome these challenges. Come to us, tell us what you need to be able to engage more at the international level. Some of the questions, like language question, I believe, will be solved by technology in a couple of years. But perhaps there are other capacity issues where we can be of assistance. So please, let's start or let's continue the discussion to make sure that you are able, not only willing, but able to engage and to transform the global governance system to the way we need for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and that was definitely worth still hearing your contribution in full. And I'll go next to the colleague from UCLG. The floor is yours.
And I will start by quoting a message from some years ago from the former UN Secretary General, where he was quoting the book Anti-Fragile of Taleb, where the author was mocking that the experts in fluid dynamics arrive to a point where they think they know so much that they have the illusion of being able to lecture birds how to fly. And in UCLG, we think that mayors are finding themselves in a similar situation to birds, where businessmen, ministers, academia, political scientists, philanthropists think they know so much about cities that they are able to give lessons on how to run local governments. And although mayors receive these lessons with caution, the pressure nowadays, nevertheless, is huge and it's difficult to resist. This pressure on mayors individually is also transferred to pressure on mayors where they can act on international level. And questions of self-organization, representation, democracy come to us to define what does it really represent to have a networked, inclusive, multilateral system that it's called from our common agenda. Is it coming to the UN to be listened, or is it actually coming to the UN to have a formal engagement in intergovernmental processes? And these reflections are linked exactly to the recommendations of the UN Secretary General's Advisory Group on Local and Regional Governments. All 15 members of the advisory group were nominated by the Global Task Force of Local and Regional Governments to ensure that we have democratic structures and representations behind and supporting the recommendations that they are doing. We really encourage you to visit the webpage of the advisory group and to find the guidance notes on ways of enhancing and strengthening the relation, because it is on the third question of this session where the true question that we have, and to think big, as the Global Cities Hub was saying, how can we make meaningful engagement into the intergovernmental processes with member states? How can we fine-tune that decisions are taken? And how can we make a distinct sphere for this distinct status for this sphere of government to be truly a reality in the coming future? What we have in today's Pact for the Future is only a hook, because local and regional governments are presented as mere implementators of the 2030 agenda. And your mandate is bigger than this, and the representation through our self-organization through the multilateral local system that exists for more than 100 years ago, still valid into the discussions. So we praise from the UCLG the declaration to be adopted by you later today. We find the forum as a special place to continue building on this and to strengthen the relation, as said before, with member states, to be recognized as a sphere of government and as well as political actors, not only as implementators of the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And I'll go to our colleague from academia over on the right here.
The word. My affiliation is not fully correct because I would like to invite you to join two initiatives where academia, private, public sectors together with the non-profit work together in the quadruple helix context, and to invite the mayors and other partners in the room to join us. One is the Baukulturallianz, supported by the Swiss government and run by the urban transformation team of the World Economic Forum, where we work on affordability, social inclusion, the recovery of Ukrainian cities, and climate adaptation projects. There we compile best practices from cities and also develop planning and policy recommendations. The Global Cities Hub and the University of Geneva are already on board, and many others who sit in the room. The second one is a consortium consisted of Dresden Sommer, International Planning and Architecture Office, where I figure as head of international projects, together with ICLE and DGNB and their European partners. This is the German Sustainability Buildings Council, and Bubble Smart Cities, which figures as a public innovation accelerator. And what we do there is, and we should not forget, we talk about cities, but the scale of the neighborhood, the main cell of human life. And there we collaborate as part of the new European Bauhaus, which is the implementation tool of the Green New Deal. So there we work on future of inclusive and sustainable neighborhoods. So we work together with many cities, Berlin, Tallinn, Athens, and Wuppertal on revitalizing, regenerating neighborhoods. And again, I would like to use this opportunity to invite many of you to join us on this journey, and would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I'm going to hand over to our friend, the Director, Ms. Paula Deda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As there are no requests from the floor, I thought it was important also maybe to provide my views as Secretariat of what was discussed. It's not easy, of course, being the United Nations, but then turned for 2 days into the United Cities, right, or the Palais, the Ville, the Palace of Cities. I would like to remind you how we got here, and because I think it's very important to see how this forum is growing year by year, but it's also growing with the support of member states, and that's what I think is really the big step that we have undertaken here, that this is, I would say, one side of the same coin, which is international multilateralism. And I think what this forum shows that it's essential to have a conversation, and more than a conversation and a dialogue, but also to include cities in this intergovernmental dialogue. And it's interesting what we are saying, that you are looking for a hook through the Pact of the Future. I agree that was a hook, maybe not as big of a hook as we expected working with cities, but certainly it is a way. But I would say also that the forum is another hook, and we keep repeating this through Latin expressions, de facto and de jure, because we should not forget that the way we operate here is through terms of reference which are agreed by member states. So there is the support of member states to this group to grow in the system, and hopefully even to grow larger and bigger. I think we have also experimented the enlargement of this group through the work of the regional commissions, which I have to commend, because really our colleagues from regional commissions have done a tremendous job to bring mayors from all over the world here with the support of the Global Cities Hub. That is working. And And what I really found interesting, you know, we were always worried, oh, maybe we will not interact that well because the realities in different regions are different. The truth of the matter is that urban realities are very similar. There is a conversation ongoing, city to city, no matter the region. So this forum makes a lot of sense also as in its global format like we have here, maybe growing even further with its global nature. There are terms of reference being developed that are going in this direction, actually. So I invite you also to continue your engagement not only with the forum but also with the work of the committee, work of EC, because this is an ongoing discussion with our member states. And I have to say that as a fan of cities, because I mean my background actually is I'm an architect and an urban planner, so that and then, as I used to say, bumped into the UN, and then I ended up working for the UN. But I come from cities and a city background. I also am a great admirer of how the UN works. And I think that putting these two pieces together really will bring us to an effective multilateral system throughout the world. And it's really, I really see it as one coin with two faces. So I'm really happy that this is happening here, that we are committed. My main message is we should not lose the momentum. Unfortunately, I've seen it that sometimes, you know, we are not fully satisfied with an outcome, or we were hoping for more. And, you know, it's easy to disengage. My request to you, stay engaged with the forum, because it's only with your help, the mayors, first of all, but all the other partners, from UCLG to Global Cities Hub to all the academia. I've seen many in the academia involved, and member states, and I'm very glad to see the member states remain here with us and listen to these exchanges. It's only through the participation of all stakeholders really that we will make this forum even more effective. There is indeed an outcome document. We took several rounds of consultations to come to this document. Probably we'll still fine-tune it this afternoon, but that I think is a very important message also for member states to receive. And as you know, will also be sent to the Secretary General. So here is an opportunity also for mayors to send a message directly to the Secretary General. So thank you again. I thought it was important to say also that the Secretariat is definitely with you and involved, and really happy to work with member states and cities to keep this dialogue going. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Paula. I thought that was a very optimistic and galvanising note for us to close this particular discussion on, and very important that we do go out on that note, and looking to the steps that we can take in the future, because there's no question that we have made progress. And I was here last year, and I can confirm that not only are there more cities represented here this time, there are definitely more cities from Africa, from Latin America, and from Asia. And I think our discussions over the last couple of days have been noticeably richer and deeper for those contributions. It has become a genuinely global forum of mayors over the past couple of years, and that in itself is progress. But I think it's also progress because it makes us more credible and more hopefully more influential, because we're bringing that broader and deeper perspective in the representations that we make. I know that I said that I would pick on people, but I am going to go easy on you, because it's been an intense couple of days and everyone has worked very hard. So I will give you a little bit of time back. Oh, and the Deputy Mayor of New Orleans has come in at the last minute to save us. Mr. Deputy Mayor, over to you.
Vice President, I would just like to take this occasion on behalf of the mayor to say thank you for this forum. I also want to remind the mayors and the deputy mayors that it's not just enough to come here for this occasion to share our experiences and our ideas. New Orleans sits at the forefront of climate change, and I was reminded this morning after addressing you that in many cases we are the future of other cities. I had the privilege of speaking last week at a Mayor's Climate Summit, and it was for mayors of coastal cities. As the world turns and we see what's going on with the violence, our youth and our families, I mean, it's important to know that the cities are at the forefront. The successes and failures will occur in the cities before anywhere else. And I invite, on behalf of the mayor, any of the cities to reach out to us. We will gladly discuss, share our successes and our failures. There have been many, and there will continue to be. And plan on the City of New Orleans contacting you for your ideas. Many of our ideas are born from other cities. And I think it's important that we take this opportunity to build the relationships so that we aren't isolated to forums like this to reach out to one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. That's an excellent invitation, and one I think, I'm sure I speak for all the cities in the room, say would be...
The last weekend in April and the first weekend in May.
I did visit New Orleans, not during Jazz Fest. I can confirm it's a great city to go to at any time, even if you're not able to get there during Jazz Fest. It's an amazing city, actually. But I'm sure we would all be delighted to hear from you and vice versa. And I think that goes for all of the cities here, the opportunities to continue to connect with each other in between these annual meetings. You're absolutely right to say that it's keeping that momentum going and keeping those connections going that gives the real value to this forum. And so, as I say, I'm going to give you a little bit of time back, not too much, but we do still have work to do. I have to tell you that there is... following this segment, there's a high-level meeting with the heads of international organisations in conference room 23, which will begin at 1:15, and there will be a light lunch served outside of that room. Before that particular session starts, and that session is a repeat of one that took place last year. It's incredibly valuable, and I would really commend it to colleagues to take that opportunity. And then we will be back in this room at 3 p.m. To talk about the outcomes statement that Paula referred to just a moment ago, and also the elections for our Bureau, the board of the Bureau for the coming year leading up to our forum next year. So please enjoy your break for the next couple of hours, and then we'll see you back in here at 3 p.m. Thank you very much, colleagues, and thank you for all of your contributions this morning.
If I may, just before letting you go, Madam Chair, just to remind you that at 3 o'clock we will have elections because we have inverted the agenda. You remember at the beginning. So elections of the next chair and 2 vice chairs of the forum will be at 3 o'clock, followed by the outcome statement, the last fine tuning of the outcome statement. Have a good lunch. See you later.